first thing I ever read was Catcher in the Rye. And I probably was in middle school. So I was probably between 11 and 13, but I don't have a really distinct memory of where and when it was. I do remember that feeling that so many people describe of just feeling this incredible sense of connection to that character and his sensitivity and his humor, and it's magical. The first experience of that book is magical. I think especially if you're lucky enough to read it when you're kind of Holden's age, you know, because for me it was one of those early experiences of sort of the C.S. Lewis maxim that we read to know we're not alone. I've tried to figure out how that book works, because it's a really neat trick if you think about it. It's a first-person narrative, and in that sense, it's a totally unreliable source of information. He's only telling you about himself, and yet when you complete the journey, somehow you know all kinds of things about Holden that he's not telling you about himself. And for a long time, I found myself talking about the book with someone and realizing, well, wait a minute, like, you know these things about Holden, but he's the narrator. How do you know these things about Holden? And I actually sort of studied it at one point, and I realized it's because I mean, not to get really technical, but there's Holden's interior monologue, and then there's dialogue, and in a weird way, the dialogue is empiric. The dialogue is a truth separate from what's inside Holden's head. And the incredible feat, I think, of what he's doing in that as a writer is that sometimes Holden's talking to you inside his head, but then you hear him actually say things. It's almost like you're witness to the truth of the exchanges that he has with people, and then you hear his interpretation of it. And sometimes there's a distance between what you know he just said and what just happened and the way he spins it. And somehow it's like in the distance between the actual dialogue in the book and his interior monologue, you actually kind of learn where Holden's not being strictly honest with himself. And it's an amazing little literary feat in a way, because it's like he lets Holden tell his own story, but Salinger's still there somehow himself, letting you have an angle on the kid that's a little bit over from the side, and it's magic. It's really, really magic.